All right. Welcome, everyone, to the midday meetup for the Automate Forward show. I'm Jake Hall, and with me today is Chris Lukey from the host of the Manufacturing Happy Hour, Mike Chico from Fanuc America, and Sebastian Schmidt from Staubli. So thank you guys all for joining us. Today at the midday meetup is really just that casual networking event where we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and really it's just this conversation that we're having, moving away from those really awesome keynote discussions that are happening right now on Automate Forward, and just kind of going in and answering the questions that you guys have towards Mike, Sebastian, myself, and kind of going over stuff. So Chris, thanks for having us again. Yesterday we had a great kickoff.
Yeah, it's good to be back here. Good to have some special guests on today. We enjoyed, at least from our perspective, we were able to attend the keynote that you guys were both a part of this morning. Really enjoyed that. Excited to dive into some of these topics further. And for those that are listening, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn Live, wherever it is, feel free to pop any questions that you have into the chat. We're going to be kicking off the conversation with a few questions to get the ball rolling, but we certainly want to make this about the folks that are showing up and listening in as well. So if you have Q&A, we're going to do our best to get to as many as we can with the 30 minutes we have here for this conversation.
Awesome. So yeah, this morning, really just a great conversation talking about, the current state of automation. Mike and Sebastian, you guys were both on as well. And what an awesome conversation that you guys had a part of. Thanks for sharing all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you guys also picked the two best looking guys from that panel discussion this morning to join you today. I think that's how you picked us to come on, is right?
Absolutely. We have standards here on the midday meetup, and we just, we're on social media, right? You got to look good.
No, it was good. I always appreciate talking about automation. It's something that you need to have a deep passion for to be in this business. So I'm happy to be here and happy to chat with you and Sebastian. It's always good to chat with you as well.
Absolutely. So for those of you guys who haven't yet, this morning there was a keynote discussion, and really today we're just going to go over some other discussions. But if you want to go and be a part of the Automate Forward event, we're going to have a link that's going to drop in chat in just a second where you can go over, register, and continue to hear these keynotes and visit over 250 virtual booths during the event. So Mike, I'm just going to jump my first question over to you right away. There was a great topic that you brought this morning talking about how automation robotics has helped during the pandemic. Last year was a crazy year. It's still happening a crazy year right now. And how manufacturing created solutions around the vaccine manufacturing and manufacturing around PPE. We're on social media now, and there's a different perception than people who are just in the Automate crowd about automation and manufacturing. Can you go into a little bit more detail on how automation and robotics is creating better jobs and better opportunity for people?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jake. There's always a lot of discussion around what is manufacturing, what does it mean, what does it mean to be a part of, and I have been a part of this for the last 20 plus years of my career, and I think one of the key things that I would say that my manufacturing makes it just great. My son, I have 4 kids. My oldest son was talking about manufacturing to me. And when we were talking about it, he learned about manufacturing in school, and I asked him. I said, "Well, that's great. You know what I do." And he said he was learning about it in history class. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, yeah, they were talking about how they make the Fords and how the assembly line got invented and all this." And so he's a sophomore in high school. So throughout 10 years of education, the only talk of manufacturing that he's got so far, and I'm not going to knock the school system because it's a tremendous school system, but we're talking manufacturing in history class, not where it needs to be talked about, which is in science class and in math class and things like that. So, Jake, you and I were talking before we came on here, and if you don't follow Jake on social media, be sure to do that, because every day he posts something that reminds me why I love manufacturing, showing all the cool things that people can do with robots and automation. So to kind of plainly answer your question, I think that actually getting into a factory and actually seeing how things got made are really, really important. Actually, a comment just came in that talks about a jelly bean I was in engineering for a long time before I took over at Fanuc, and I actually automated the jelly bean factory. I can tell you which one for confidentiality, but I was the software engineer on that job, and so I've been able to do it myself, and I've been able to lead people to do it. And man, it's just the most rewarding thing out there to actually see how things are made. And I would highly encourage to watch a couple YouTube videos and get you jazzed up about what manufacturing really is. And it's not about building Model T Fords in the 1900s.
No, it's not. And that's what's so exciting, right? I think none of us realize, or a lot of us don't realize, how much we work with as a commodity product and what we deal with, and how much of it was automated through a manufacturing process. And it's not just these cars that are being put through a facility. So yeah, great. Sebastian, I'm going to bounce the next question off to you. And this is kind of something that you said in the event as well, where it's really important for businesses to build a contingency plan right now. And one of the things that I was reading a report by Deloitte talking about how reshoring and resourcing is going to be one of the largest really components that are addressing by companies in 2021. So in the topic of reshoring and resourcing, how can automation and robotics be used to help companies really close in on that mindset as a solution?
Yeah, reshoring is important. BCM, I mean, the business continuity management and plan is important. It became an even more important topic in all the boards that we share and we see in the last few months with that pandemic. Everybody is talking about supply chain disruptions and worried about being able to produce. I mean, having the staff in place and having the automation in place is one thing. Being able to produce is one thing. But if you don't have the supplies and your suppliers being able to source to give you what you need to put it together to make the final assembly, there is nothing you can do. So it is very important to take into account what you add, what kind of value you add to your product as a manufacturer is one thing. But also value what your supplier is bringing to the table and really work with them to make it reliable, to make it sustainable. So it's a true partnership. So in each and every company, I'm sure today when they discuss BCM, they talk about, okay, what do we do with our supplier? How can we make them more reliable? How can we partner with them to look at the long term? And that comes with reshoring some of the components, sustain forecast, and planification.
Yeah.
I mean, we look at some of the things like logistics. The number of planes available to us to bring product in is limited today, and it's causing a headache for some of us. I mean, some of the people, that's their daily job lately to look at how many space is available in planes and ship and things, and so all this needs to take into account. And when you make your plan and when you set this, those are risk management basically.
Absolutely.
So another question, and reflecting back on the conversation this morning, there was a lot of discussion about de-risking investments in automation. And we know automation is a tool. We know robotics and automation are, provide solutions to problems and opportunities we're facing in industry. You're both from technology providers. So this question's for both of you. Maybe anecdotally, how are you coaching companies to confidently invest in new technology, and even more so, making sure they're looking at technology at the right time? Mike, can we start with you on that one?
Yeah, sure. Great question. De-risking is always an important thing. And I'll give you probably two areas. Number one, to identify the opportunities in the first place. There is such a diverse number of system integrators and technology providers and experts out in the field, including our companies as OEM companies, to come out and do an automation audit. That's probably the best way to get started. So for the people online listening, the best way to get started is to have someone that knows what they're talking about come to your facility and just look around and see. And then in terms of de-risking, there's really two things that we could do. Number one is the simulation tools that we have available to us right now. Some people would call it a virtual twin. or a digital twin, where we can recreate what it is we think would work in your factory digitally and show you how it would work, show you how much space it would take up. We can simulate the cycle time in which it would work. And so you would get a very, very clear picture about what a proposed solution could look like. And then for all the things that maybe wouldn't do well on a simulation, like if you needed a camera to take a picture of something, or if you needed some 3D technology that is hard to simulate, then what we have are laboratories that are set up across the country and across the world, where we can solve that problem in one of our labs and show you. So we can simulate it to give you the best picture visually and show you what the timing would be. And then we can come in and prove out various bits and pieces in the laboratories. And that happens at the robot OEMs, between all of us, as well as at the systems integrator. So by the time you committed, there really should be a fairly small amount of fear or risk available.
Love that. You talk about taking that step back, identifying the opportunities to begin with, and then leveraging technologies to test that out before making those big investments. Sebastian, what are your thoughts on this question? How are you coaching companies to confidently invest in new technology?
So first off, we take the similar approach and pragmatic approach. What are we trying to solve? Where is the risk? And then we're trying to, just like Mike said, we're going through the simulation, we're going through the proof of concept and validation of cycle time. So all those locks and all those doubts that you may have and risk that are identified, we try to leverage them and release them. But for me, the first thing to do is to bring an expert to the table. This is what you should do to any of your project, whatever they are: industrial project, automation project, personal project. Bring the expert into the table and listen to him. We are the expert in robotics. I mean, Mike's company, as mine's, is the same. I mean, we are the expert. We know what we do, and when we give you advice, do this, don't do there, go here. This is in our daily lives, and by listening to the professionals, this is how you succeed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just a quick recap. We're here live on the Midday meetup for the Automate Forward event, which is put on by A3. So right now we're live on social media. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. But the conversation continues after this event. You can go and register for free for Automate Forward event. We're live March 22nd to March 26th, all day this week, with great keynote speakers, great events. We're having 250 plus live booths where you can go in and learn what's happening from different manufacturers and automation companies. So join us. So I'm going to move over to this next question, and this was put by the audience. So Matt asked a question regarding, I love that, Robert, and this is regard to the keynote that we just had, ended the panel this morning with the future ball question. I heard mention of AR, VR a couple of times. What is the realistic time frame for full-fledged implementation of AR, VR with robot cobot, and how AR is being used in manufacturing? Do either of you guys want to address on that, on how you see the augmented and virtual reality tying in with robotics?
Sure.
Sure.
So I guess good
first,
to know the difference. Sorry, Sebastian, you want to go first? I went first on the last one.
Go ahead. I'm fine.
The difference between AR and VR being augmented reality and virtual reality, and I think that there's a much a deeper opportunity for augmented reality in manufacturing training than virtual reality. So we see the opportunity here for augmented reality, especially as Matt mentioned on the comment, in the training or service capabilities, where one user could bring a device out onto the factory floor and then augment that picture with whether it's key training information or key service information on various parts. And so that isn't in the future. I mean, that's happening now. It's a way that we train our manufacturing engineers and service people. And so that part of augmented reality is happening now. I think if you get into virtual reality, in my personal opinion, there's probably still some question of where that really fits in. But I'd like to hear Sebastian's take on it.
Yeah. So Automate 2019, we presented augmented reality, virtual reality, where actually it was more virtual reality, where we actually implement objects into a real robot. So it's a mix between you watch your robot, you have a pedestal, and you implement things. It's kind of an evolution of our simulation software, if you want, in a sense, giving you access. We talked about de-risking a few minutes ago, and that's another tool to present and to implement a layout, show your new facility and how the machine implements a new facility. You can have the goggle and you can watch it and you can walk and see your plant with that machine virtually installed, and it gives more confidence. So I see in the future that we will work more towards this versus simulation on a PDF format and things like that, and or a movie, something that is more dynamic and gives more chance for the customer to understand what he's looking for, what he's trying to solve, and how his machine's going to behave and look. And then I joined Mike on this comment on the service side. I think the augmented reality is going to be definitely a plus, and it's going to become more real as months and years come, for helping services, for helping people to simplify what needs to be done. We talked about accessibility for smaller companies, mid-sized companies. To me, it's accessibility, having the technology accessible to your people and make it easy to use. That's the key of the success. People need to not be afraid of using the technology, using the machine, and get the best out of it. And that's one tool that will be able to have them pulling more performance out of their machine.
Great.
So we've got another follow-up question. Again, looking back at the conversation this morning, another topic that came up was flexibility in manufacturing. There's more of a need for like flexible transportation, flexible production without sacrificing throughput. Again, maybe if you've got stories or examples, Sebastian, if we could start with you this time, how are you helping people be more flexible with their production, and what are some ways you're seeing this being very important right now?
So in the past couple of years, we invested a lot in AMR and AGV, trying to go away from big, heavy lines that are, I should say, more dedicated and where it's more of a structure, to maybe having multiple stations linked with AMR or AGVs that can bring the product from one place to another. And that gives you some flexibility in the sense that if your part doesn't need each and every process, depending if you want to customize and make smaller batch, you have that flexibility to jump over one station and things like that. So all this with the connectivity of understanding with the ERP, with the Industry 4.0, having the ability to the MES and the ERP to dictate what steps are being done on each of your product and line. All this will bring you more flexibility to be able to adapt. I mean, to simply adapt to what you produce and when you produce and how you produce. That gives more efficiency.
Love the specifics. Mike, what are your thoughts on flexibility without sacrificing throughput?
Sure. So on the flexibility side, certainly using industrial vision, that area has been, it's been around forever. I mean, 20 plus years, industrial vision's been around, but the advancements over the last couple of years, moving into the 3D space, being able to very easy to use interfaces where you can easily train 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional vision images and have an industrial robot go in and really handle the amount of flexibility that you need in the application. So certainly look into, if you haven't looked into industrial vision for a while, or if you've only sensed 3D or 2-dimensional, if you've only kind of utilized 2-dimensional vision in the past, moving into 3-dimensional vision is a way to really open up the realm of flexibility for your line, depending on how your part picking is. And then another key example that I just wanted to bring up really isn't around the robot itself, but it's around the gripping mechanisms on the robot. You know, companies like are now out with extremely flexible grippers that can be used to handle various things. Shunk, Piab, I mean, all these other gripper companies are out there providing solutions that enable flexibility on the robot, so that you're not limited by just one thing. So really, that's what when I think about gaining flexibility on a line, I think about expanding the realm of industrial vision, and then also looking into additional gripping technologies.
Awesome. So we're about 5 minutes left in the event. You know, we're going to quickly jump through one more question I have for each of you guys. And this is actually one of Chris's favorite questions that he likes to ask on his podcast. So I'm going to steal it. And Mike, we're going to jump back to you, and then Sebastian wrap up. Mike, if there's one question that you have not been asked so far during the Automate Forward event, what is one question you wish Chris and I would ask you, and the answer to that question?
Man. You know, I guess the biggest thing for me is why'd you get into this in the first place? You know, I think there's, depending on who's online, there's probably a lot of people that are in business or thinking about what they want to do to get into business. And so the question of why did you get into this in the first place? And to be honest, the answer to that is I kind of fell into it a little bit, where I knew I wanted to be an engineer because I knew I liked parts, putting them back together. I was in school. We didn't have the amount of real industry things available. We were more theoretically talking about things. And it wasn't until I got out into my first job at Northrop Grumman where I was exposed to robotics. And it was like I got hit with a hammer. As soon as I saw what an industrial robot could do, the world just opened up to me, and I knew I'd never leave it. So that's probably something that I would say is why did I get into this in the first place? And it started because I like taking things apart and putting them back together. And once I got trained on an industrial robot, really there was no looking back.
Fantastic. And maybe a little bit of Lego when you were a kid as well, Mike?
Oh yeah. The Legos may still be a part of my family traits. So it's that some of those things don't go away.
No, not at all. Sebastian, same question over to you. You know, what's one question? You know, it could be the exact same one that Mike just answered. What's one question that we wish we would have asked you during this quick panel?
It's actually a tough question. I try to think. I do like Mike's question and answer. I can certainly relate to that. I've been working in this industry for 26 years, and every morning I'm still excited to come to work and go through my day and enjoy what I do. It's different every day. I see so many different industry and so many different things that we do. Technology evolved between my younger days when I started my career in Stably and seeing some of the industry and some of the vision work that we had to do. We had to be an expert, and today it's much more accessible. So I'm excited to be part of a revolution, I call it, in automation, between what we were able to do in the mid-90s, early 90s to today. I mean, we're doing surgery on people, on spine surgery. We're doing brain biopsy. We're doing assembled batteries and working in the vaccine, decoding the virus, all those different aspects, and helping the food industry getting the production out. All those things are very.
Oh, Well, I think we actually just lost Sebastian. I know he was having struggles with his IT and his connection. So I guess that's a perfect close. Chris, you want to wrap this up real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So for everyone that's on here, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on LinkedIn, make sure you're checking out Automate Forward as well. There are links in the comments. I've seen people posting to sign up and join the event. We run all week long through the end of the week. So even though things are still, even though we're here on Tuesday, things are really still just getting started. Jake, you and I will be back here at the same time each day for the midday meetup. And then special announcement for tomorrow, we'll be doing a happy hour version of this in the evening as well. At 4:30 Eastern, we'll be having a little roundtable discussion on brewing, or I should say automation in the beer industry. We'll have folks talking about the packaging side, the brewing side. So if you thought this was casual, we'll be making it even more casual that evening by cracking a beer as well. So thanks to everyone at Automate for hosting. The show's been great so far. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do that. And a big thanks to Sebastian and Mike for joining us here today. We appreciate you taking some extra time to engage with the audience involved in this industry.
Sounds good. Looking forward to drinking a beer with you guys later, talking about robots and beer.
Nothing can be better.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys, everyone, for joining us, and we will catch you for the next one. Enjoy the upcoming keynote speakers and the event. We'll see you guys.
Take care.
Thank you guys. Sorry, I think I
See you later.
cut off. Yeah.